So, how long have you been here?
3.5 years.
And you were in the military before, I'm picking up.
No, still am.
Oh, okay.
So
how does that work?
So I do a couple of days a week, if I can, as the chaplain to the Household Cavalry. So as part of the Royal Army Chaplains Department. But I'm a reservist, so I just do the time I can.
But does that mean, is that associated with a church with a space?
It's not linked
it's a parochial
to St Giles.
role. No, but it's a parochial role with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's chaplaincy, so I'm there to look after the serving personnel and wider community. St Giles is Book of Common Prayer, so it's quite unique in that way, in that all of our services are taken from the prayer book and sung.
So that's, that's higher up the candle.
Oh, no.
Slower down.
Other way, yeah.
It's the other way, okay.
Yeah, no vestments, none of that incense stuff.
Okay.
No, I mean, the parish I was in before was very liturgical and high, and I, there are elements of that I do miss. But St Giles, and this is one of the great things about London, as a diocese and as a place to be a Christian. There's so much diversity in the church here. You can go across to All Saints Margaret Street, which is a neighbouring parish, and it's almost unrecognisable in terms of what we would do here. There's a real beauty and a dignity and a depth to it. And if you like that sort of thing, you can go. But there are people who prefer a service to be simpler and shorter, and prayer book, and that's what St Giles offers and does very well. So there's no point in us trying to be like another church. We've just got to be ourselves.
Yeah, I kind of say, well, did you come here because it fitted your sense of wearing the candle? I don't know if that really is how people think about it.
Yeah, I think people do think about it sometimes.
Or is it like this because you're guiding it in that direction and that's part of
I think it's always a fool's game to try and make a church in your own image, or following a pattern of your own particular spirituality, because you will. I mean, that's a fact. One of the great humbling and sobering things about being an incumbent, with your name on the board, is that there will be another name after you.
Yes.
And another name after that. So
when do you get your name on the board? When you arrive or when you leave?
I don't think there's any policy. Mine's just gone on the board because the signwriter was here, and it was cheap. But I think I like Aaron particularly. So he was a priest, and there he's in his priestly vestments, and on his chest he's got the 12 stones representing the 12 tribes of Israel. That he would, and this is what I think is particularly important for me as a priest, is that he's bearing the community, the 12 tribes of Israel, on his heart. And that's what a priest does. When you go to the communion table, the altar, whatever we're going to call it, here it's the table. You come to the communion table to celebrate the mysteries of Holy Communion, and you bear people on your heart. That's what you do as a priest. You carry them with you, and I just like that's what we've got in front of me. So the elements, the bread and the wine and stuff, are on that little credence table there. So I have that in front of me when I'm getting things ready, which is quite a nice little reminder.
If you're in the army, whenever I meet anyone in the army, so I do this without fail, so please don't take offence.
No.
Have you ever killed a man?
Well, no. Well, I mean, it's forbidden by the commandments, so...
Okay.
So it's interesting. So chaplains, although you of course you operate within the army, but you absolutely do not carry a weapon.
Okay.
Even personal protection, you don't carry a weapon ever. Yeah, I had a really interesting argument with someone who had very particular views about army pacifism and the idea that we didn't need forces like that. And I said, well, of course you need an army. You need professional soldiers that are well trained, are ethical, who can, when required and only when required after considerable thought and strategic planning, deploy lethal force to the protection of the most vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise you just have marauding gangs of people going around doing horrible violence. You know, you need a professional, trained group of people who can execute.
I mean, it's not inevitable, but the risk is always there. And if that happens, what do you do if you don't have somebody?
Yeah, you need.
That's the key thing.
You need.
Yeah.
It's not there to glorify it. It's there in order to, maintain peace. I'd love that we could all join hands around the world and sing John Lennon's "Imagine," but I mean, obviously, I couldn't. I think it's just. It's the one song I won't allow at funerals. Actually,
what?
I won't allow it at funerals if people ask for it.
Really?
Well, yeah, because I can't stand there in church and be like, imagine there's no heaven. I'm like, well, why are you even here? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's got a great chord structure, but, the lyrics leave a lot to be desired.
You have to draw the line somewhere.
The line in the sand is well and truly drawn at that point. So, you absolutely do not carry a weapon, and you're there to support pastorally and sometimes physically. Those who are serving. And there's a lot of post-traumatic stress, and people are still very much living with that post Iraq and Afghanistan. It's a real thing for people.
But there's an established role that the military pay for and say, this is an important thing. Is it non-denominational now?
Yeah, so it's non-denominational. The Royal Army Chaplains Department is, just because of history and tradition and other things, has always been predominantly Christian, predominantly Protestant, but it is diverse, and they have appointed a number of different chaplains from other faith traditions. It's not under those terms. Hang on, do you belong to my tribe or not? It's essentially you're there for everyone. You're everyone's padre. And I think this is a really interesting thing. Actually, I think the church generally has got a lot to learn from the chaplains department, because it's very, very broad in terms of the people who serve in it, and yet the role of padre in terms of its operation in the parish, in the unit, is quite common and well established. And people know what to expect of you and do expect it, which is good. Soldiers are very clever. They can tell when you're bluffing or when you're not. This is the final judgment. And, for me as, a Christian, it's an important thing to consider that, one day we're going to be judged on our actions, the good we have done and the bad we have done, will be weighed in the balance, and it'll either be good or it will be bad.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been the bit I've had a problem. It feels like less good parenting than some of the other things.
I don't know. It's not the reason I'm a Christian, but it is. I think I was talking about this with someone the other day. Actually, the idea of fearing God, to be God-fearing, is not a bad thing.
Well, So, I don't want to suggest that judgment isn't important.
Yeah.
And there's this kind of thing, which I'm very sympathetic with Christianity, where they say, hate the sin, not the sinner. Mm-hmm. And there's this, which is why judgment. I
always say that's always used in particular relation to a particular set of theological things. Yeah. That argument, and I always thought it's quite unsatisfactory. But there's some philosophers like Philip Foot, I think, who says you can who makes an effort to derive morality from first principles without necessity for kind of anything, well, certainly not God, but nothing else. But critically, she says, well, you've got to treat criminal behaviour differently. Yeah.
You can't just sit back and go, yes, there's no difference between this and anything else that you do. You've always got to have a way of going, being a Nazi is a bad thing. And not doing that kind of thing is okay.
Yeah, please don't be a nasty racist.
Yes.
These things are. Yeah, I mean that's.
Yeah. So I don't want to say no judgment. That would be but it's then.
I think for me, we're not, we're only a couple of months of going into the season of Advent, and I think the thing I really like about Advent is it throws a perspective on our lives, but also on our faith. We don't live in the instant, we don't live in a moment, we live with a view to, eternity, a place without time. And to sort of stand in relationship to that as a set of ideas and principles. Earthly living and eternal consequences is a good, to put yourself in between those two things, one foot in each, I think.